Shenmue is dreadful. I don't think that's a particularly brave thing to say, but I believe I should get a medal for saying it anyway. Maybe at the turn of the millennium, back when this game was worth a shit, it could get away with being bold. But boldness is no excuse for wasting the player's time, having absolutely no respect for the audience or its patience, and generally expecting people to make their own fun in a game that doesn't really give you all that many tools to have fun. And people say that it's immersive, that it's realistic, that the world operates on a 24-hour schedule, that you have to wait several in-game hours for things to unlock, because that's how it works in real life. Yeah, well, you know what? I don't play video games for real life. My real life is annoying enough as it is, thanks. This is the game that, for example, will make you wait several in-game hours, obviously shorter than real hours, but still long enough. It will make you wait several in-game hours to go and see somebody, and then you see that somebody and they tell you to come back tomorrow after a single cutscene. So then you've got to waste an entire day because you can't go to bed whenever you want, wait until it's bedtime, then wake up in the morning at a predetermined hour, and then have to kill even more time. If you ever look up guides or anything for Shenmue, right, you will see the phrase kill some time so many bloody times, almost as many times as Ryo, this game's protagonist, says I see. Like it's the only response he knows how to fucking give. Which I could believe it, because he walks around like some sort of clueless drunk robot, so it stands to reason that he'd be a pre-programmed android that can only say I see or ask people where fucking sailors hang out. So much of this game is just hanging about waiting for the next part of the game to happen. And to fill that time spent waiting, Shenmue gives you a handful of things to do, a handful of things that get very, very boring very, very quickly. The best way to pass time is to train. That is, when the areas where you can train trigger the training option. Sometimes they just don't bother. And in training, you can just press buttons, just press the combat buttons and have Ryu hit nothing. There are no combatants when you train. Ryu's just punching and kicking the air. It's like when you play a fighting game and you go into the practice mode. It's practice mode. Except here, it's an integral part of not being bored because there's little else worth doing. You can go into the shops, of course, to buy things that have limited function at best, or no function at worst. You can spend all your money at the Gashapon machines, just getting little figurines of Sonic. Admittedly, one of the more interesting parts of the game, even though, again, going through that routine over and over and over without much purpose gets very, very dull. There's an arcade where you can go play some QTEs or some shit old games. Somebody, when I was complaining about this, somebody said, well, what you should be doing is going to play Space Harrier, you know, find things to do, go play Space Harrier. Guess what, right? If I wanted to play Space Harrier, what game would I boot up instead of Shenmue? I'd boot up fucking Space Harrier, wouldn't I?
I've got a question for you. Who are you kidding? Kiss off, twit!
Now, credit where credit is due. Shenmue is the foundation for great games that came afterwards. Yakuza, of course, owes much of its design and world building to what Shenmue laid out, and Deadly Premonition followed up with its own take on the Shenmue formula, and Deadly Premonition's one of my favourite games of all time. But that's the thing about Shenmue, is it's a prototype. One that hasn't aged particularly well, granted, but even for its time, it's shit. The controls are bloody awful, whether you're doing combat or just trying to walk around. Simply turning a corner is too much for Ryu. He controls like a forklift truck, except the forklifts in this game control better than he does, so he actually controls worse than a forklift bloody truck. The only time I had any consistent fun with this game was the forklift truck driving shit. I see why people love that bit. It's as repetitive as anything else, but going and collecting a box and turning around and taking it to a warehouse and plonking it down, there's at least some therapeutic value in that. And it makes you feel like you're actually doing things with the amount of laborious in-game time you're given to kill. It's just a shame it doesn't unlock until about 2/3 into the whole thing. This game should have been called Forklift Boy, and it should have started you out with the forklift job. Instead, it starts you out with an insipid series of missions that are just go talk to this person, then go talk to this person, then go talk to this person, then go talk to this person. then come back tomorrow and talk to this person, then come back tomorrow and talk to this person, then talk to this person, then talk to this person. So much of the game is spent spinning wheels and going nowhere. And when something does happen, your reward is a shitty little QTE or an insipid combat sequence where you gotta fight with the dodgy controls to punch and kick idiots. The ideas in Shenmue are bold, yes, they are inventive, absolutely. But that doesn't change their implementation, and their implementation is garbage and time wasting. This is the sort of game that absolutely needed a remaster, not just some re-release. It needed remastering, it needed the controls improving, they needed to add in Shenmue 2's skip time function, and it really would have served them to have at least tried to clean up the audio, even if they could only clean it up just a little bit. I realise there's only so much to do when you've clearly recorded all of the dialogue over your dad's Eurythmics cassette tape, but my god, the mix of this is so bad. It's crackly, it glitches all the time. All the arguments about Shenmue being immersive are thrown out the window when you hear one of these idiots talk, and it's all... Speaking of glitches, once I got to the final third of the game, every time I entered a QTE or a fight sequence, I'd be stuck in this weird first-person mode afterwards. You couldn't get out of it, and the game's hard enough to control when you can see your protagonist, let alone when you're staring at the world through his own drunkard eyes. When it's not routinely being annoying, Shenmue is just boring. No, shut up, it's boring. You get bored of the distractions it gives you when you're wasting time, and then you get bored wasting time because the distractions have gotten boring. I just started dicking around on my phone between missions, right? Standing there in the street like a gormless fuckpie. And really, that's a better alternative to playing Shenmue, just dick around on your phone. Or play Yakuza, or Deadly Premonition, or anything, really. I give this game the lowest score possible, 8 out of 10.